Dolphins. One of the most unique animals on the planet. It is one of the smartest mammals in the ocean, able to go up to 37 miles per hour underwater, and exhibiting intellectual thought patterns not seen anywhere else in the ocean. NASA, the US government's sector of space. Through this branch, we as humans have sent satellites into space and had men walk on the moon. Have you ever wanted to a dolphin? Because NASA sure as hell did. The catalyst for this story begins with Margaret Howe Lovat. She was a massive animal lover and obsessed with the thought of animal speech. In her early 20s, living on the island of St. Thomas in the Caribbean, her brother-in-law mentioned the existence of a secret laboratory on the eastern end where they would experiment on aquatic mammals. Lovat, being the go-getter that she was, immediately drove down there. By absolute chance, the first person she met was the director of the laboratory, who was so impressed by her want to help animals that he immediately invited her inside to show her around. Even though she'd never had scientific training, Lovat turned out to be an intuitive observer and was invited to come back anytime she wanted. And who, by chance, do you think this laboratory was funded by? Just NASA. And what exactly was the focus of her observing? 3 dolphins: Sissy, Pamela, and Peter. Lovat herself recounts that Sissy was the biggest, pushy, loud. She sort of ran the show. Pamela was very shy and fearful, and Peter was a young guy. He was sexually coming of age and a bit naughty. The facility in general had been designed to bring humans and dolphins closer together in proximity. Lovat very quickly threw herself into her work and became connected with the 3 dolphins. She spent as much time as she could with the dolphins and carried out a program in the hopes of teaching them human speech. Or rather, human-like sounds. Lovat then made the sane and reasonable decision that if she lived with one of the dolphins 24/7, the results would come faster. The ridiculous and insane nature of this idea was appealing to the director, and he immediately went for it and gave her full access to all resources they had. They completely waterproofed some of the upper rooms in the laboratory so that they could fill them with water. This would allow a dolphin of her choosing to live comfortably with her for a few months. And Lovat chose the young male dolphin for her experiment. The idea was that she would live in isolation with him 6 days a week, sleeping on an elevated platform in the middle of the room, and even doing her office work on a desk suspended at the side of the room. On the 7th day, Peter would return shortly to the 2 female dolphins to relieve himself. As the experiment progressed, Lovat documented her work meticulously and was generally very productive. She would have lessons with Peter where she would teach him English to some small success. But there was something getting in the way of these lessons. Dolphins have sexual urges, and Peter had more than a few thoughts along those lines. Peter liked to be with me. He would rub himself on my knee or my foot or my hand, and at first I would put him downstairs with the girls. But transporting Peter downstairs proved so disruptive to the lessons that, faced with his frequent arousals, Lovat decided it would be easier for her to relieve them manually. I wasn't uncomfortable with it. As long as it wasn't rough, it would just become part of what was going on. It seemed to me that it made our bond closer, not because of the sexual activity, but because of the lack of having to keep breaking. Truly a visionary of the 1960s. But it gets so much better. In the 1960s, the lab was given permission by the American government to research LSD, and as part of the research, the drug was sometimes injected into the dolphins, though Lovat did oppose that. So I guess she has that going for her. After 6 months of Lovat and Peter living together, the lab was defunded and effectively shut down. Lovat was kicked out and the dolphins were sent to live somewhere else, specifically at a Miami lab where they had much smaller tanks and were given little to no sunlight. Peter quickly deteriorated, and within a few weeks, Lovat received a call. Peter had committed not alive. You see, dolphins aren't automatic air breathers like we are. Every breath they take is a conscious effort. If life becomes too unbearable, they will take a breath and sink down, never to take a breath again. The idea was that he had died of a broken heart, as he couldn't rationalize why Lovat, the love of his life, had left him. So yeah, NASA mentally destroyed a dolphin into unaliving itself. So yeah.